in terms of mainstream news coverage, this topic is not taken seriously. It's basically a non-topic. So how is that so? Here's how. It requires an understanding of the relationship between most of the mainstream news media and global intelligence communities. So what that says, that doesn't mean that the CIA controlled everything, but that you have to understand the media acts in certain choke points. So, for example, a UFO sighting might get local news coverage, but that doesn't mean that it gets covered on the wire services. That's a very different situation altogether. And skeptics will argue, well, this phenomenon is so big it would have been covered, but really what that betrays is a lack of understanding of how news media has been related to intelligence communities around the world for decades.
And I call upon our government to open up like other governments have, and you will hear about that this morning. Like the
when CNN covered a press conference in Washington, D.C. in 2009, where Dr. Edgar Mitchell encouraged U.S. government to release its UFO files, the hope was that the issue finally was given serious news coverage.
Former Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon, told the National Press Club he's convinced.
But there isn't convincing proof that's going to convince the entire world at this point. That is correct. That is what we're trying to open up.
We're about to go out and do our little hoax.
But CNN chose to let two boys with air balloons have just as much time in the report, demonstrating how they managed to fool UFO believers.
Again, we're not trying to prove or disprove anything, but it's okay to be skeptical.
Okay then. Jim, thank you very much indeed for that. Jim Acosta there.
You bet.
Well, the role of the media in the flying saucer phenomenon is a very, very important one. I think it's very clear that in the United States, at the very least, that there were efforts during the very earliest days to try to get the media to basically dampen down expectations and dampen down public enthusiasm concerning extraterrestrial life and the flying saucer phenomenon. And this is actually documented. And ever since that, we have seen many, many examples of how the media doesn't really explore or doesn't really investigate flying saucer reports, and that various media organs have been brought out by the CIA. For example, the National Enquirer was actually brought out by a CIA asset who used it as a very clever way to debunk flying saucer reports by basically sensationalizing it, making it part of the kind of tabloid media, whereby serious media investigators would not do any research into a flying saucer report that had been in any way covered by the National Enquirer or these tabloids. So that was a very clever piece of psychological warfare, in my opinion, to try and get the mass media disinterested in the flying saucer phenomenon.
So it's a very, very complex issue, and the secrecy isn't that hard to maintain if you have this sort of infiltration into major institutions, media, and also the ability simply to float nonsensical stories out there. Because people hear the word UFO and extraterrestrial, they think somebody from a trailer park in West Virginia who's floated on board a spacecraft had sex with someone from Mars and claims they have a baby in an incubator. Or, but just all kinds of nonsense. The truth of it is actually more interesting. The truth of the technologies and the fact that the extraterrestrial technologies are so advanced that they interface directly with coherent thought. Like we have coherent light in a laser, they have technologies that interface with thought, that interface with conscious mind, that the development of artificial intelligence that's integrated into these spacecraft is so advanced that they pick up on a directed. It's fascinating. And this is what we've been experimenting with. And the whole paradigm becomes a new paradigm of understanding the structure of the cosmos. But most of the information that's out in the public on this issue has been a carnival of silliness. And that keeps most serious people sort of in the closet on it.
Is this the reason why so few scientists engage in the UFO subject? The fear of being associated with the silly side of the issue. Is this also why it's never commented on by astronomers or by space organizations such as NASA?
This is not just a simple civilian organization. There's a great military connection there. There's a lot of classified security clearances involved in being able to work at NASA. You can't just stroll in there. So these are people who fit a certain personality profile. That is, they know how to follow orders, they know how to keep their mouth shut, and keep their head down, and their career will do just fine. That's how most people are who live in a bureaucratic world. This is how secrets are kept. There are open secrets that are kept for years and years and years because people agree just not to talk about it. And I think that within NASA, this is very likely the case regarding the UFO issue.
But like Dr. Edgar Mitchell, people retired from NASA have commented on the issue. Astronaut Gordon Cooper has told the world straight out about encountering a UFO at close range during his flight in the Mercury capsule in 1963. And before he died, he also stated, "For many years I have lived with a secret, in a secrecy imposed on all specialists in astronautics. I can now reveal that every day in the USA, our radar instruments capture objects of form and
is they're making themselves visible now, much more than before. Madrid just had hundreds of ships flying over, the capital of Spain. China is seeing all kinds of UFO activity. Mexico, it's unprecedented with thousands of ships in the air. I've seen footage of ships over Mexico where the whole frame is full of UFOs and they're all moving synchronistically. It's just amazing. But you couldn't even count them. I was counting, 200 plus in just one frame, and that was just a small part of the flotilla. So this is happening on a regular basis, Peru, Brazil, everywhere, and it's headline news. It's total headline news there, but where is our press? Why? You've got a whole flotilla flying over capitals of countries that are being witnessed by thousands of people, but why is that not in our news? We have to ask that question. And the answer is quite simple. The news is totally controlled.
In January 2007, 2 months after the event, the media reported that a UFO was sighted over Chicago's O'Hare Airport by pilots and ground crew. It hovered, then shot up through the clouds. Officialdom, as always, dismissed it as a weather phenomenon. But how do you dismiss former Arizona State Governor Fife Symington, also a pilot, who tells the Arizona Star that the lights seen over Phoenix a decade ago were from another world?
I think if I had control of the news, I would put more spiritual content, more positive content, more information concerning fuelless energy breakthroughs, which is also taboo. You never hear about that. I would bring forward major cures for diseases which have been held back. I would bring forward people that are on the forefront of these technologies and this new wisdom coming out. And I would turn the news into a full-service organization that's dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth, not holding humanity down in darkness and fear and terror, which is basically what it said. It's beyond anything that we have. A lot of these experiences that I've had have helped me to understand the true nature of man, which is in truth a multidimensional being existing on a vibrational continuum. And almost all the physicists believe right now that we can measure and experience less than 1% of the universe that we live in. There's another 99% out there. They also know, according to the latest superstring theory and things of that nature, that there's at least 11 dimensions out there beyond this dimension. And you look at all the diversity of life in just this dimension alone and add 10 more dimensions to that, you can imagine what's out there. And if you look at this physical universe we're in with 200 billion suns with planets revolving around them, and now they know there's at least 500 billion galaxies out there with the same effect. Whole new galaxies and universes are being created daily. The creation is ongoing. So I'm just saying, according to the science that we know today, the science is there to explain all of these events, and my experiences fit within that science. But if people just believe they're a body and a personality, that's their reality. It's a very limited reality, but that's their reality, and you can't argue with somebody if they don't have any reference points or the understanding of these other.
Silence.